Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creative thinkers and doers. It is I, the mayor, Global Voice in the mayor's office, with someone who's right now my new best friend, Dr. Phillips. How's it going? So thanks for being on the show.
I'm exciting. I'm doing good. I've been following your show for a while, and I am just excited to be a part of what you're doing today.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. It really means a lot to me. But if I had to describe you to a friend, what would I say would be your passion or your slashes? Like, what's the thing that makes you go, this is my path, this is what I'm going to do?
My passion is mentoring the younger generation of my age. I've been pastoring for about 60 years. And now in retirement, not retirement, in my recycling modality. I feel that I have to give to the younger generation and to teach as much as I could the tricks of the trade, and particularly in terms of the multicultural, the diverse leadership and multicultural people, ethnic specific congregations and leaders. And that's where I think my passion is.
I like that, because retired does sound very final. Like, I'm done. But you're like, no, I'm going to go ahead and give it back. What made you decide to do that? Because there's a lot of people, if you would have did your career as a pastor and walked away, they don't even want to be upset or mad. But what drove you to say the next generation needs some guidance?
Well, someone told me a long time ago that it is no sense going to your cemetery and with a sense of finality, and that is it. And that whatever God has blessed you with down through the years, that you must invest in another generation. I do a lot of public speaking, and I often say to congregations, we ought to give the church to the younger generation. They are not smart enough to destroy the church.
Right.
So, we've got to give it to them. So I have spent all my life trying to give of what I have been blessed with. In terms of leadership, particularly in terms of leadership, we have a crop of leaders who are coming up, and we the older generation, we've got to help them, and that's where my passion is.
Well, we were talking about this before we went live. You're well-traveled. You live in different parts of this country and the world. How has the message changed or shifted? You have to recontextualize your message for your local congregation. I mean, how does that work for you?
Yeah, I think we have to exegete the culture. So I operate in a world of religion. However, I believe that culture trumps religion.
Okay.
That culture seems to be more dominant than religion. It is not prescriptive, but it's descriptive. That's the way my observation is, that we have to exegete the culture. We have to make sure that as we take this religion to different parts of the world, in my case, it is Christianity. And as we take it to different parts of the world, we must be willing to contextualize, to take our Christianity, take our particular brand of Christianity and plant it within the soil of the particular culture. And I think that is very critical. Someone said, don't give me a potted plant, but give me the seed and I will plant it in my own soil. And that, I think, is what we have to do where the gospel is concerned. We have to culturalize Christianity instead of Christianizing the culture.
You can't drop science and leave it. Don't give me a potted plant. Give me the seed so I can plant it on my own soil.
That's right.
Wow. Wow. That's like advice for life.
I think that's very important, because we have to trust the soil of the different cultures that we attend to. So that therefore I always say that God is in every culture, and we've just got to discover where God is. And the mistake that we make so often in the church, Flo, is that we think that we are taking God somewhere. Okay. No, I say we are not taking God. Our job is to go out and find out where God is already working and join God there.
Okay, yeah. So
come on.
But so talk about that and your mission to give back, Diakonia, right? This is an institute, a resource. How would you describe it to the uninitiated, and how does it work for you to get the message out?
Yeah, diakonia is that's the word that a Greek word that talks about churches. Some denominations have an emphasis on charisma or koinonia. These are Greek terms, but diakonia is servanthood. That we are called to be servants. So I started in 2013 the Diakonia Christian Institute, which is an organization that exists to build strategic alliances to be able to deliver education, particularly ministerial training to ethnic specific congregations and pastors who cannot afford the traditional methods of learning or furthering their education. And so ours is basically online certificate courses. And so I'm continuing to develop these courses that are available. And there are about 4 of them that you can find online. They're basically about 4 hours, 5 hours, but you can do it in different modules. Yeah.
Not too long. And we'll get to a couple of them in particular in just a second. Yeah. But I guess the question I have is, I understand the spark of it. Like, look, there's a need for this. Yeah. Let's create this. Let's craft this. You said it's almost 10 years this thing has been online. What happens in those down periods where you may have the storefront built, but no one walks in that store? Do you start to question yourself? Do you say it's not the right time? Do you say I'll keep pressing on? How do you motivate yourself to keep it running when sometimes there's a lot of things going on?
I thrive, Flogo, on the contacts that I have made on the outside and the constant conversations that I have about the next project. I'm project oriented. I'm always working on the next thing. I have 19 books already that are on Amazon. And 19 of them on Amazon, and I'm just working on my 20th book. I came to Texas to be a part of the Community Missionary Baptist Church. And just called me 2 months ago. I got here. So I moved my operation from Florida to one red state to another red state. Here I am here. But I thrive on the constant feedback that I get from individuals, from pastors, from church leaders who have taken these online courses. And so I'm always working on the next project.
Yeah. What did that seem right to you when you got the call from Texas saying we need you? Did it feel automatically right? Did you pray on it? Did you talk to your family about it?
No, I don't pray on those things. I am constantly looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
And when opportunities present themselves, I don't see why I should pray. I just say, I've been waiting all this time for it. So when they have a program called Strike Back, and in which they deal with different topics every Monday night. And I have been on Strike Back for the last 7 months. Okay. And the pastor finally says, well, you're in Miami, you're a 77-year-old single guy. Why don't you just come on to Texas? And I said, hey, if the price is right, I will come. And he made me an offer, and here I am.
Yeah, and being able to spread your word.
Really enjoying it.
Yeah, Texas is one of those states that it's so big. Everything you think about Texas is true. Like you can go down to the
hey, and I've got my hat.
You do?
In 2 weeks, somebody gave me a hat. I'm waiting for the shoes now.
Right.
But I've got the hat.
I was in Dallas a couple of years ago at a conference. I was like, let me walk into a boot store. I was like, I'll get some boots. And I tell you, there's so many different kinds. My head was spinning. I walk right about ostrich and alligator boots. It's crazy.
So I'm fired up. I'm not a boots guy, but
you will be.
I'm fired up. I'm waiting to get my boots.
So let's talk about one of these modules here. Can God Save the Church? The preview is available now on our YouTube page. The title is pretty sensational. I mean, what was the story behind this one, and what was the story behind the title?
I think that I have a passion for leadership, not leadership development, but leader development. And there's a distinction there. I believe in developing leaders. Mm-hmm. So that it seems as though the modality of the church is that God can come down and save the church from the challenges that we have. And I says, well, unapologetically, no, God cannot save the church. It is not God's task. So if I should use a scriptural reference, when God came down in Exodus to deal with the Pharaoh,
Right.
And God said, I heard, I saw, I'm aware of what's happening, but yet he says, now, Moses, you go. And so that God will not save the church, but God will use leaders to save the church. So my emphasis is on to say to leaders, stop praying stop leaving it up to God, because God has anointed you, God has prepared you, and our job, my job as a leader, is to be able to provide leaders with the toolkit so that they can. So the question is, can God save the church? And the answer is no. However, God has appointed leaders, and the task of leaders will be to be equipped so that they can go out and change the church, because the church must constantly be changing. The old ways are no longer what our younger generation or people are working. The church is hemorrhaging. Right. All the statistics prove that people are moving away from the church. So the church must change. But the older folk, the us's, we are so stalemated into what we're doing. We keep looking at the past, and we want the past. We want church to be like the past. But the only way the church can survive is that leaders must be equipped with the toolkit so that they can effectuate the type of change that will be useful as we move forward.
Yeah, to use that analogy, you're giving these tools to these effective leaders. What did you decide which tools to be used? How did you curate the modules in this one? What did you say? I'm going to hold this one back. I should go more in depth with this concept.
Yeah. And of course, what I say is that we need to exegete the community, and to understand what is it that the community needs most. And as leaders, the question we must ask as of our congregation and whatever community we're leading is, what is it that I am called to do that the community needs most? Right. Or what is it that the leaders within the church need to do, and nobody else can do it, either because they don't know what to do or that they are not well equipped to do it? Yeah. So that we must change, and change is inevitable. And the successful companies, Flobo, are the companies that are always. And so we have one of the modules is about the paradox of the sigmoid curve.
Okay, tell me.
Which is an S laid on the side. Okay. So, and what George Handy talked about here is that all organizations, all organisms go through that phase of growth, leveling off, and decline. The important thing is to be able to always start another curve, but most organizations are only aware of the need to change on the decline.
Okay.
So while they are going this way, while the company is doing well, while profits are there, while people are flocking to the church, nobody wants to change. And you plateau for 2 years, 3 years, the numbers are leveled off. And then only when it begins to go down that most leaders say it's time to change.
Right.
And what I say to leaders is, no, don't. When you begin to go down, people are discouraged. They are despondent. You don't have the resources to be able to effectuate change. What you need to do is, while you have the resources, while the enthusiasm is there, that's when you take the resources and think about the next curve for the organization. That's what McDonald's does. That's what all the great institutions do.
True. And this module is already out now. You can actually take it today. And once you hear this podcast,
there are 10 modules.
Okay.
And it would last 4 hours and 15 minutes. And it is available. It is available through my website, www.thediaconia.com. THEDIAKONIA.com. And it's only $19.95 for 4 hours and 15 minutes of listening.
Yeah, I'm sure a night out at the movies will cost more than that. But what has been some of the feedback you've received since having it launched? What's
Well,
people
the
been saying?
feedback has been good, Flo. You know, people, there are individuals just this morning. So we have individuals in India and Kenya who are eating this course up. And, you know, the guys from India, just about 2 hours ago, talked about the fact that there is a lot in there that they had never heard about. They are so enthusiastic about it. They have taken the entire course and they are teaching it to more than 40 pastors right now in India. And they are saying, you know, there are some elements of of leadership and change that they have never heard about, and that they are so, you know, they are fired up about this. And I'm fired up. I have covered some areas there that, you know, we all have blind spots in leadership, Global. And
True.
What I've tried to do is to point out some of the blind spots that so that we can be able to move forward. But I'm excited. The course is available. It has been out for about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
And you know, the response has been great.
So I gotta ask, as a creator myself, you know, a lot of the stuff I do, this show started taking on guests during the pandemic, and my podcast network started the pandemic. What was that feeling when someone from India hit you up and was like, "Yes, I live literally halfway across the planet, but I found your stuff and I'm hyped"?
Yeah, the thing I wondered whether they really grasp all that is there. And when I did it, as a matter of fact, that's the group that asked me to prepare a leadership course for them so that they can teach it in India.
Okay.
And that was the spark for this. I prepared it particularly for them, and I'm surprised that you know, I was able to break it down in terms that they can really understand. So and they're enthusiastic. They are fired up about it. They have one more day. They have taken that course that lasts 4 hours and 15 minutes, and they are teaching it in 3 days to their 40 pastors. So they have one more day, and they will be finished teaching the course. But there is enough material there that can bring about that kind of change that I think is necessary.
Is there room for a sequel, or is this topic pretty much self-contained?
Well, I am an addictive and compulsive personality. So I'm always thinking about what's the next project that I'm working on. And so I have a lot more projects that I'm going to be working on, but particularly in preparing leaders. And I say this not to be sacrilegious, but too many leaders depend on the old classical church ways we do church and we do ministry to bring about the kind of change. But we have to follow some of the business models. I always say church is a business. Sure. We must run church as a business. It is God's business. And God will someday hold us accountable as to how we do business. So, there will always be a sequel to this. There will be.
I don't think that's sacrilegious at all. I mean, you have your client base, you have your board of trustees. People are looking for the best interests of the organization. So I know what you mean, but like, trust me, I don't want to think about it. But you do a lot. You said a lot. You do a lot. You think about the next project. I respect that. I'm the same way. So many different things on my docket. How do you balance it? When you get up in the morning and think about the things you have to do, how do you navigate that without getting exhausted? Do you do anything to refill the cup? What's your day like?
One has to always have priorities, and it so happened that I understand how to prioritize the things that are important to me, but I also know that I don't sleep much. If I get 4 hours sleep, that's enough. As a matter of fact, the other day I got up and it was 6 o'clock, and I said, "My gosh, something happened."
He slept in.
You don't get up at 6 o'clock. So I'm always thinking about another project. 4 hours sleep is enough, and I'm about ready to write another book. And the book that I'm writing right now, I got to this church, and it's a guy he celebrated his 55th birthday. Dr. Oscar D. Epps started a church 28 years ago, and now the church has over 3,400 members So I got here, and as they just celebrated the 20th anniversary, I got here, I said, I'm going to write a book. And part of the book is about leadership, his leadership style. What is he as a leader? And the title of the book is Come, Let Me Bless You, in which he talks about the fact, and that's what he does all the time while he's preaching. He says, come, let me bless you. But one of the things he says is that nobody can love people more than I could. And that's a part of leadership. Yeah. Leadership is about, you can't lead people if you don't genuinely care for them and you don't show them that you love them. And so there is a module in there that talks about the sources of our vision, and that is very critical. You have to know where you're going in order to get there, and stop looking in the rearview mirror. Too many leaders look in the rearview mirror all the time. That's why they get in accidents.
No, fair enough. So concerned with looking backwards.
That's right.
The course is called Can God Save the Church? One of a few and more growing, it seems, at thediaconia.com. Doctor, it's been a pleasure just hanging with you, talking about it. Is there anything else you want to share with listeners right now, how they can go on their own path, how they can follow their own things that pursues them?
No, I would say, listen, always have a vision. You must have a vision of where you want to go, and understand quite well that you are a created being with all the capacity to be able to bring about change. And all we have to do is to be quiet long enough to take inventory and to be retrospective and introspective as to what are the resources that this God has given you, so that you can go about and bring the change. Can God save the church? No, God cannot save the church, but leaders can. Go to www.thediaconia.com. The course is 4 hours, 15 minutes, and the cost $19.95. You will be challenged, and your life will change because of it.
Thanks for being on the show, Doc. Appreciate you.
Hey, take care. God bless you. Great.